Hey guys, so I would like to thank Powerdrift for giving me the idea for this video. Um, they have done a video about buying your first super bike. I will just be talking about buying your first bike, leave alone just super bikes, because I believe there are many people out there who are looking for their first bike as well. Now, when we think about bikes, there are 3 to 4 categories that we generally look at. Of course, the one in front of you is the racer bike, which is the Ducati, which probably would come into most people's mind, right? The next one would be the cruisers, which probably would be a Harley, Indian. It could be a Ducati, Diavel, Honda Goldwing. It could be any of those that you aspire to. Then comes the off-road category, maybe like an Africa Twin, Triumph Tiger, Multistrada, Kawasaki Versys, Ducati Hypermotard. Depends what your choices are. And there is another category which I've generally not heard of people calling this their dream bikes, but it could be something like a classic or a street naked bike. But it's very rare I've heard from someone that that this is their dream bike, so to say. But yes, there is a possibility there will be people who will have that as well. So looking at these 3 to 4, 5 categories, major are three. The other two I would say are come in a little lower. Now these are the dream bikes that we are talking about. Of course, you cannot buy this as your very first bike, right? As your dream bike. So what do you do next? We look a level lower, maybe. That's where the mid segment comes in. Now, when we talk about the mid segment, we're talking more like 500 to 650 kind of thing. So in the racer category, you would have something like a Ninja 650 or the Yamahas, the other categories that are there in this particular section, which are selling in India. Of course, we have the Kawasaki Vulcan or something like that in the cruiser. Of course, there could be a Harley as well, but I just thought not just put Harleys there. So any cruiser. Similarly for off-road, we have Tiger or any other like the we have the Suzuki 650, which is the V-Strom. Yes, the 650 V-Strom is also there, which could be the off-road capable bike, so to say. And there could be something like a Leocini 500 or again the KTM that are shown above. So that would probably be the mid segment. Now, depending on your budget, of course, you would think about going for the dream bike, or if you can't afford those, you would probably go a level lower and you would think about the mid segment. Now, what happens here, if it is just the budget, of course you could go lower and lower, but even if budget is not a constraint, I would still not advise to go for the dream bike or the mid segment bike straight away. The reason for that is that your skills may not be that ready if this is the first bike that you are buying. So start low and gradually go up. Now, I of course have had a very slow race, so to say. I started with 100 cc, which was a CD Dawn. I went up to an Extreme, and now I'm on a Avenger Cruise, which I know is not that big a jump, but every single step of the way, I feel that I am upgrading. And after 3 to 5 years, you will run out of steam with a particular bike. And if you've already done the 1000, if you start directly with your dream segment, you will get bored of bikes probably, or maximum you'll switch from the racers to the cruisers or something like that. Somewhere that monotony might come in where the bikes are concerned. However, if you gradually increase it, there's a better chance for you to enjoy the biking even more, because see, as you are a starter, you should be able to max out on your bike, then upgrade to a higher level. But if you're already on the 1000, there's nothing to upgrade on to, right? So looking at this now, even if this is within your budget, I would still suggest you to start a segment lower, which is like the base superbike somewhat, so to say. It could be the Ninja 250, it could be this that I'm shown here, that is the Yamaha R3. It could be a cruiser, which could probably be the Rebel 300 that might be coming in. Avenger 220 is also there, but it's kind of a category below, maybe, I don't know. There is the Himalayan 400, which is off-road capable and all that. If we go further to the right, we have the Dominers and the Bullets, which are generally the preferred section in this category. That is the base superbike, so to say, around about the 300 cc mark, right? However, if even if budget is not a constraint, then I would probably suggest to start here, Or if you want to be a little more cautious, and if it's your dad buying your first bike, I would probably suggest to start even lower, that is with normal bikes. Yeah, when normal bikes, when it comes to that, I know there was a comparison between the uh, RC 125 and the R15, which is from Yamaha. However, I personally felt the RC 125 felt like a safer bike with better brakes and better controls. What I would probably do if I had to gift my son his first bike, I would start with a normal bike. Now, with a normal bike, if he is someone who's already a lot into bikes, he may not be okay with just a street naked bike. He would probably need something like a racer or something like that, So I would probably start with the RC 125 is what I'm thinking. If there's no bike, because my son will still take some time to grow up. So I would probably start here. So all those parents listening to this out there, start at the base. Let your son earn the respect that he can be a good biker. Now, besides spending on the bike, like Powerdrift rightly said, you should be spending on the gear as well. So might as well start low with the gear and then gradually go up. And probably the cruisers would probably be the Avenger 160 is probably the base right now, if I'm not wrong. For the off-road, we have the X-Pulse, and instead of the Classic and the Naked, we have the Scooty, which is the Activa, which is the favorite right now, or the Splendor for that matter, which come in that category. So these are some things that I believe you can start with. Now think of it this way: you are 18 years old, you have to buy your first bike. Okay, you're crazy behind sports bike. Start with an RC 125 or an R15 as per your choice. Again, R15 I'm not suggesting because it still is more hyper, and going up to 150 kilometers per hour, it may not be the best choice you want to give your son. You want a bike that is a little more in control, and KTM being a bit more punishing, he will learn more on the bike. That is, of course, if you have the budget. If you don't have the budget for this, also, of course, you can go down to a cruiser or the nakeds that we spoke about. There are many options like that, depending on your budget, of course. You could see what you want to go for. There's also the Honda Hornet, which is a good seller, which looks good and all that. There's the Honda Shine if you want to go for the classic category, or in cruisers, we might have other options as well in the future. So let's look at it this way. My son grows up, he's 18 years old. I give him the RC 125. Just an example. Okay, he enjoys his time with that. In 3 to 5 years, he has his own income. He would probably be what, 21, 23. By then, he has saved up enough to move a level up. He goes ahead and buys an R3 for himself. Now, I have no problems with that because he's got it from his own money, and he would have the budget and the savings to buy it, and he would be able to maintain it because now this would be his well-earned bike. He uses for another 5 years, that is from 23 to let's say 28. He earns more, saves more, and he grows up to a Ninja 650 because probably he's bored of the Yamaha and wants to go in for a Ninja. And that's where he gets his Ninja 650. He enjoys it a lot. So he's the first one was 18 to 23, 23 to 28. Okay, now this is 28 to 33. That's probably the time he's understood his responsibilities, and he's had around 10 years of experience on his bikes. That's when after like 10 to 15 years of experience on bikes, that's when you go in to a super bike, if you of course have the budget for it. That's when you go in for a Ducati, or you go in for a Fat Boy, where you can actually own and maintain these kind of bikes. Of course, your salary should be supporting the same. But if it does, then yes, you can definitely go ahead with it, because now you have the experience and you have the your personal income to that level that you can go and buy these super bikes. So that's what I would like to say. Don't jump for these super bikes right away. Gradually, over the period of time, earn it, work on it, and then grow up to it. That's what I would like to say with regards to these bikes. Now, coming to the safety aspect of it, I already mentioned that in the RC, but when you pick a bike, it's very important that you look at the safety aspect of it and dwell on that. You have my other videos where I'm already talking about safety, so we will continue that talk later. This is just to give you a gist of how to get your first bike, not just super bike, your first bike. Think about it. Let me know what you think. You could be a person of any of these verticals. You could be liking a racer, a cruiser. You could be liking an off-roader, or you could be liking a classic or a naked. So it's totally up to you what you want to go for. And below that, you can see the other option that I was talking about, the mixed segment, which had the Ninjas, the Vulcans, the Tigers, the Ninja, the Vulcans, the Tigers, or for that matter, the KTM or the Leocini. You go further down, you have the super bikes where you have the R3s, the Honda Rebel 300. You have the off-roader, which is the Himalayan, or you have the Dominar or the Bullets. And coming to the base, which is the start bikes, the normal bikes, we have the RC 125, or we have the cruiser, which is the Avenger 160, or we have the X Pulse, and we have the Splendors or the Activas. This is probably how you should decide on which vertical you want to be in, and then climb up. It may just happen that you might just start with an RC, and over a period of time you may feel that it's not practical. You might move to a Vulcan, or for that matter you may move to Honda Rebel when it is launched in India. I believe they're going to launch it, but I don't know when. So it is possible. Let's see.